I was telling Van that that Hokie here you guys see all the time. She knows she was down in there for like a few minutes, and then as soon as they said we're going live, she hops up here and she's just got to be on camera. But your mom would be upset because you are a hot mess right now, and she needs to get you bathed and groomed. So maybe we got to put you down for a little bit. But yeah, I'm super excited to be chatting today with a good friend of mine, Van, and we've gotten to know each other pretty well the last year. We got to hang out in Thailand for a bit. He got to scare me in South Korea on a connection flight, and then karma caught up to him, and he got pat down by a South Korean TSA and almost arrested, which was fun to watch. That was great. That was awesome. But yeah, so what we're going to talk about today for everyone that's joining us is, you know how I don't like to have agendas and topics and stuff, but, Van is just a rock star when it comes to, what I would say is like paid traffic's great, but like, I look at you as like you have really great creative ideas from like experimental stuff. You're on Snap. You're looking at different ways to grab attention. You're using contests and giveaways and stuff that a lot of people aren't talking about. So we're going to talk a lot about Snapchat. We'll talk about giveaways. Talk about contests. We'll talk about content. We'll talk about a lot of stuff. We'll talk about your new little puppy. Get him up here. Maybe the story of how you got him, the spite puppy. Maybe we can call him that.
Yeah, it's marriage, man. Marriage is full of spite, bro, and love, and a lot of love, admiration, and a little bit of spite.
I just love the story, and I like. You didn't have a dog for 5 years, and Kim goes away on a trip with the kids, and you decide I'm going to get a dog.
I grew up with dogs, right? So I grew up sleeping with dogs in my bed. I had a dog since I was born, and I had him until I was 18. Like, I love dogs, and my wife grew up in Montana on a farm where dogs were outside pets. You don't bring them inside; they're outside to herd the cattle and whatnot. So it's always been a battle, and when we got married, I had an English bulldog for 5 years, and then she passed away, and then my wife was just like, no more dogs. So it's been 5 years without any dogs, and then she's known that I wanted to get a French bulldog for probably a year, and she just kind of put it off, and told me no, and then she planned a girls' trip to Ireland, and I really wanted to go to Ireland. But she said, no, I'm going with my girls, and you're babysitting all 4 of your kids. See you later. I'm going to be gone for 10 days. And I was just like, okay. So she left, and she came back to a beautiful puppy, a little French bulldog.
Oh, man. So the moral of the story is, this is what maybe Larissa and I can learn from this going forward once we have kids, is if you leave the other one on a amazing vacation and the other one has to stay and watch all the kids, when you come home, there will be a spite puppy or something that'll be in the house.
Yeah. Correct.
Love it.
That's exactly what's to learn here.
Well, he is one of the most adorable dogs I've ever seen. We've looked at pictures of him for hours on a time between all the stories and stuff, and I'm sure we'll get to be graced by him at some point. He's coming in.
Bob, he's coming in.
Go get Bob. This will definitely increase the views, I think. There we go. It is one of the most adorable little guys.
The greatest thing
ever seen.
The greatest thing.
And now all I'm going to hear about is Larissa wanting another puppy. She pushes me for it a lot, and now it's going to be, you got to get another puppy. Look at Van and Kim's new dog. It's so cute. We need to get one.
Dude, it's great. He's the best.
Love it. So I want to shift though from something that we love, which is dogs and puppies, to something that we mutually, I think, dislike. We just talked about it for a few minutes before we went on here, and that's Facebook, right? So I think we both love Facebook from the sense that it's helped our businesses, and it's been, I can speak personally for me, it's been great. It's helped me build a career, and people ask me to speak places, about it, which is awesome. But I mean, the last year has been absolutely just brutal. It's a total nightmare to be an advertiser on Facebook right now. And I don't think there's been a company, at least in like my memory, and when I've been alive, that's been as hated as Facebook. Maybe like Wall Street during 2008, maybe like Goldman Sachs and stuff were hated, the banks, but like Facebook is, I mean, they are hated by their users, they're hated by their customers, they're hated by Wall Street employees, everyone, yet they are still a behemoth. and they're still so powerful. So I guess the question there is like, it seems like we're in alignment that it's pretty frustrating to advertise on Facebook. And you guys still do a lot of your business on Facebook, but you're on Snapchat, you're using other channels.
The problem is they built such such a necessity. They built such a behemoth in technology to where like every business, it's such a necessity to have Facebook. Even more so 2-3 years ago. I mean, like I said, like it's like this I'm overly grateful for Facebook, but yeah, as of lately, it's just been the biggest hindrance. So it's this necessary evil that you just have to deal with on a daily basis, and yeah, it's not been a fun, at least for me, it's been a rough quarter. Hoping things pick back up, but it gets monotonous to me. It gets tiring to me. So that's why I got, like you were just saying, I got excited when Snapchat fixed their pixel and updated their platform to where it was a lot easier for the user, so I could dabble in there. And that's been really fun for me, is to test a new platform and see the return coming in. Maybe not as big a scalability as Facebook, but still, it's an alternate stream of revenue that we didn't have. So I'm not so damn reliant on Facebook for all of our traffic.
Yeah, it's challenging, man. I remember, this is going back before I was even this is like, I think I was still in college at this point, and I was dabbling and investing like in the stock market. And I was investing in Facebook like around their IPO and stuff, and people were saying, Facebook's not going to be around. This is back at the time people didn't understand how powerful they were when they first went public.
Right.
And I remember I was like, they're so deeply integrated into everything. Like that was when they started putting them in, Target and CVS to get photos, and it was, logging into sites with Facebook and stuff. I was like, it is so deeply ingrained in everybody. And I love the argument a lot of people give is like, well, people aren't using Facebook, millennials, Gen Z aren't using Facebook, they're using Instagram. I was like, well, Facebook doesn't give a crap. They don't care if you're using Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook. It's irrelevant to them. You are still the exact same user to them on the back end. But yeah, I mean, what's scary to me is that like there hasn't been a radical new development in the way people consume content or share content, right? So like you look in the early, like mid 2000s, you had Google, just this behemoth, kind of what Facebook is now in terms of all powerful, and they're still all powerful as a company, right? But they were starting to piss off a lot of people. They were doing similar things to what Facebook's doing now. And then there was this option, all this Web 2.0 stuff, Facebook, we're getting these massive, engagement numbers and user numbers, and it became a really great platform. There hasn't been anything in the last, 6+ years that has been a real threat to social media. And so I guess what I would love to know is like, because I can't see it. Like I don't have kids. I don't have like transparency into what's like really trending. It seems like Snapchat is still, growing. It doesn't seem like it's a giant threat, but then there's things like TikTok and other platforms that do seem like a real contender.
So how I started Snapchat, just so you understand, was like I tried Snapchat over a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it was awful. I don't know if any of you tried it then, but it was bad, and I lost money every time. And then it wasn't until my brother, who's 18, who just graduated high school, came up to do an internship with me. And we were sitting in my office, and I was kind of going over everything. But I watched him throughout the day, and the dude texted on Snapchat. He called people on Snapchat. He shared his location on Snapchat. He didn't have a Facebook. He's 20. He was 18. He's 20 now. I think he has a Facebook. But he's like, dude, I don't have a Facebook. He's like, I have an Instagram, but I don't really use it. He's like, I snap everybody. And I was just like, okay. And that was the first step that I was just like, okay, the younger demographic, I need to be on Snapchat. So then they fixed their pixel issues and whatnot, and their user base grew. It kind of dropped a little bit there after they changed their platform, but it's picked back up. But now, coming from a parent's perspective, like I have a 6-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old daughter, a 2.5-year-old daughter, and then a 1-year-old boy. But I'll come out, if I ever like leave my kids alone with the iPad or with my phone, I'll come out in the mornings or whatever, and they'll be on TikTok. Like my 6-year-old is on TikTok, and that's all they do. Like when she's like, "Hey, Dad, can I have your phone?" It's like, well, And I'll usually like if it's a 30 minutes before bedtime, it's like, yeah, you can have my phone. And I expect them to go to YouTube or something like that. No, she doesn't play games. She doesn't go to YouTube. She doesn't go to anything. She goes direct to TikTok. And I think you could see by how fast TikTok's growing that it's probably going to be the next generation. I don't know, Generation Y, whatever. But Snapchat was that thing for me, and then it's been a great addition to our paid media. And then I'm assuming TikTok will get to that point. But as for me, that's what I see coming up the pipeline right now is the TikTok.
Yeah, and it's, a lot of people I've heard when I brought it up are like, well, it's like Vine or these one-hit wonders that last for 10 minutes and go viral. The difference is that TikTok is owned by ByteDance. It's owned by a massive Chinese company that has almost infinite resources. And so the longevity of a platform like that has real financial backing isn't just, venture backed with a few $1 million, $10 million. Totally different. And they actually have real technology that they've developed on the artificial intelligence side. They understand what the next generation wants to see content wise. And it's based on more than just engagement. And I guess that's why, younger kids are so hooked on it, because they know exactly what they want to see when they want to see it. And it's crazy, man. And I, what's tough as a marketer sometimes is trying to balance things that are so deeply ingrained in your marketing systems that you're dependent on with trying new stuff and trying to keep up with new stuff and allocate the right budget. So I guess for what you guys do, I mean, and I want to dive into your actual business, because you guys are doing some really cool stuff and you're giving away trucks and you have, TV and all kinds of really cool stuff. How are you balancing that of, hey, most of your business comes from Facebook, but you still need to try all this stuff?
So I've always been, I work for a company, and I was hired as a CMO, and I don't really have a massive team. So I was doing all the buying myself for this company just internally. And then it kind of grew to the point where I needed somebody on Facebook. Then I need a content team. And then I need this. Now I have a team of like 7 people, but there's only 7 of us. So when I came on, I'm very keen on hiring a professional. Like, if you're not going to be a professional, what you do, hire somebody that is. So I'm very good at Facebook. I was very good at Facebook, Instagram. I could do that. So I handled all that. But we still do the AdWords. We still do all that stuff, but I hire somebody for it. The email marketing, I can do the Klaviyo. I can do all that stuff, but I hire a professional for it as well. And then I handle the stuff that I consider myself a professional at, and then I outsource everything else.
That makes sense. Yeah, because it's impossible, man. Like I try, but between running all the things we do, and between managing our students and our groups, and just trying to read and keep up with the news, there's so much stuff happening. And I guess what I would say is the cool thing here's what I'm saying, and I think you're saying the same thing based on how you run your kind of marketing, your business. The nitty gritty of understanding the algorithms, understanding how to bid, how to set up campaigns, how to manage budgets, how to scale is becoming less and less important if you have a few things. If you have a lot of data, if you have really, really great creative, a great product, a great offer. If you have those things, we're seeing it all the time because we audit a lot of people that want to work with us on a consulting side. So we'll see really cool brands that have amazing products, and we'll look in their ad account and it's a disaster. The worst ads, the worst structure, the worst strategy you've ever seen. But they have just a killer product with a great video, and they're actually making a lot of money. And so I think that's what we're going to see.
I think there's no bigger time right now, nothing more important right now than content. I really do. When we started, I think it was a lot of understanding how to bid, how to enter the marketplace, so forth, how to scale. And I think with everything that's Facebook's implemented in particular, it's less about that and definitely more about the content that you're producing and what's going out there.
Yeah, so how do you do that with, I guess the answer is to have a cool product, but you guys have just a really cool brand. You have faces to that brand, right? You have and I never even asked you this, the actual story of the brand, just people are aware, and for myself too, because I don't think we ever talked about this. the Diesel Brothers, it's a TV. They started out as a business, obviously, and they got a TV show, and now you have a full e-com store. Like, what was the path there? Because it is interesting.
Let me explain the path, because a lot of people think like, and not really a shot at my ego or whatever, but a lot of people come say, oh, you guys are only doing 8 figures because of the TV show. It's like, dude, we were doing 7 figures before the TV show even showed up. All that did was kind of light the fire a little bit. But we started on YouTube back in 2013. I wasn't a part of the company at the time. It was my 2 of my best friends. They just started making viral videos, and it caught fire. They had like 100,000 YouTube subscribers, and they kind of monetized it on YouTube. And what happened was it's a diesel truck niche. So like pickup trucks, heavy duty pickup trucks that haul trailers and whatever. They had these trucks that were all tricked out and had a lot of horsepower and whatnot. And they would make these viral videos, and they would just go crazy. People loved these videos. So what happened in 2013 was the owner said, dude, my truck is wild. It's got $100,000 worth of, it's a $100,000 truck with all these modifications and stuff. Everybody knows my truck. Everybody likes my truck from YouTube. He's like, what if we gave this away? You know, we'll give this truck away, and what we'll do is we'll just charge people $5 for a raffle ticket to enter to win this truck. And that was the original idea, but they found out that, I mean, that's illegal. That's a lottery, and you can't do that. So what they decided to do was they decided to actually make a product. They made a little wristband. You know those rubber wristbands?
Livestrong,
they cost like to make, the Livestrong wristbands. And they made one that said Diesel Power, and they sold them for $5 a pop. And they ran the giveaway, and they gave away his truck and profited $420 off the first one. And they were just like, holy cow, you know, there's something here. And everybody that entered to win that truck said, hey, well, you guys should sell shirts. You guys should sell hats. I would buy those. If they said diesel on a Diesel Power, I would buy those. So then they started that. And then it just kind of evolved to be this. We've given away over 50 trucks now. We've given away $100,000. We've given away a lot of stuff. We give back to our customers quite often. But that's our business model, is we focus on customer retention and rewarding our customers that buy from us. And dude, our repeat customer rate's 52%, which is kind of wild to think like somebody's coming back 52% of the time to buy again. Like, our Shopify is crazy. But it's made a niche. It's made like a home, a family, a community that people can kind of be a part of, and they can enter these giveaways. And honestly, it's not so much about the product as it is about the giveaways and about like being a part of the diesel. Like, they'll buy
the community
phone chargers, they'll buy iPhone cases, they'll buy hats, they'll buy boots, whatever, as long as they're part of the community and they're getting to see these trucks and they're getting a chance to win them. And then if they don't, they're friends with those people and they get to see the trucks all over the nation. You know, we have 50 of them everywhere. They can go see them. So we've created a great community with it. The TV show came into play in like 2-3 years ago. They reached out to my friend and said, hey, we want to make a TV show of what you guys do, building these trucks and flipping them and giving them away. And originally he said no. He said, nah, like, he was a CEO. He's like, I don't really want to do reality TV, not my style. They reached back out 6 months later, like 4 months later, and they said, I don't think you understand what this will do for your business. Just let us come film a pilot. The pilot went really well, and now we're 4 seasons in on filming our 5th season right now on Discovery Channel. It's called Diesel Brothers, but Discovery owns that, so our brand is Diesel Power Gear. And that's what we do. We run the giveaway model to where every $5 you spend in our store, doesn't matter what it is, gets you entered to win one of these trucks, and we give them away every month.
How do you track that? So we actually have a student in our program, Pay Traffic Training, who on our last audit was showing us they're giving away cars as well, and it's, you know, they're giving like tuner cars and stuff every month, and it's the same model of like spend, you know, a few bucks and get an entry. And so I'm curious, do you have a custom solution or using an app to do that? Because I'm unselfishly going to or selfishly going to steal that from you guys.
No. I train about this. I have an academy that we do a conference where we actually train on how to run the giveaway model and how to do this. And I've got no problem explaining to people how we do it. But we actually use a third-party agency to pick the winners. So
Okay.
what we do, just because after the first one that we did, there was a lot of, I don't want to say backlash, but a lot of people were like, how do we know that person's legit? How do we know they're not a family or a friend? You just gave a truck away. How do we know they really bought something? So we just wanted to, one, take all the liability out of it, because there's a lot of red tape into running a giveaway model. Because you have to, if it's over $5,000, you have to register these vehicles with mainly Florida and New York, but you register them in all the states. And yeah, so we use a third-party law firm that does all the legalities, takes all the liability out of it, but they also pick the winners. So at the end of the giveaway, at the end of the month, we literally send them a CSV file of all of our customers and the amount of money that they've spent, and they spit back to us. They say, do you want one winner or do you want 10 winners? And then you whittle them down from the 10, because we do a lot of marketing. We do a lot of videos, and that's kind of our business model, is running this viral content. And a lot of the times we like 10 winners so that we can do a viral video showing how we picked the one person who actually won, and we remarket with that a lot. So yeah, they spit it back to us, and then that takes us completely out of it. So yeah, we just send the CSV file over to the third-party law firm, and they take care of all of it for us.
I love it, man. And I forget who I was talking to yesterday about this, where I was doing some one-on-one sessions, and I find it interesting that so many, especially I think newer business owners that are getting into the online space, they have this idea that like, I need to own all the customers. I need to come out with a product that everybody can buy, right? I need to be the, Apple. I need and even Apple is not even going after everybody, like just the Amazon, the Walmart, and everybody's a customer. And if you look at where the success stories are right now with fast growing online businesses, you look at, the Caspers and the Purples and those type of brands, Dollar Shave Club, Harry's, they're entering markets that are so saturated. Like nobody in the right mind would say, I want to start a mattress brand. Like no, it's or a razor company, right? But they find pockets of customers that nobody's speaking to, and they speak only to them. They create a brand messaging, content, products.
It's all branding.
Yeah. And for you guys, it's like somebody come out and say, hey, I'm going to start, giving away all kinds of cars. I'm going to create a brand for every car out there, every car owner out there. And it's going to fail because people that own, Ferraris align with owning, they're Ferrari owners, right? They go to the meetups, they have the apparel, right? People that own tuners have tuners. People that own big, pickup trucks have pickup trucks. Yep. Totally different groups of people with different interests, 100%. Passions, needs, right? And so you guys, you created a brand just for those people. Every piece of content you put out,
100%,
every ad is for them.
Around that blue collar niche. People overlook the blue collar. I don't really understand why a lot of people overlook the blue collar niche, because they're definitely loyal.
They spend a lot of money. Our Trump stuff. We got our Melania bills. Those people that buy this stuff.
Yeah. No, they buy it, but not only do they buy it, they're loyal. As long as you have a good product and a good mission, these customers are very loyal, and we love it. We love giving these trucks away and getting to see these trucks change these people's lives and whatnot. But yeah, you need to be very niche specific if you're going to run a giveaway model like this. You can't go out and offer a Gucci bag to one of our diesel lovers, because they give a shit less about your Gucci bag.
Unless you were buying it to run it over, which would be a great video. Start buying some really bougie stuff and just destroying it.
Running stuff. Yes, we've ran over a Prius, a Toyota Prius. Diesel lovers have a hatred for Priuses for whatever reason. So we've done that, and that video did really well. But yes, that's the only time they would prefer those things.
So how do you factor that into your? I guess I'm sure a lot of people watching this, or listening, one of the questions they might have is like, I think it's an awesome model, and this personally, I think it's an awesome model, but it seems like when you're getting started, it can be a risky model, right? If you're committing to a big giveaway, like did you guys work your way up to that, or did you just say, hey, this is an investment, we're just going to go big on it?
Yeah, the way that it started, right, was like we had the following first. We had the YouTube following first, and we could see that they were, like, at the time, 2013, we could see that they loved it, and they would comment, and they want the truck. So, and at the time, it was the owner's actual truck. It was his daily driver.
Okay.
So, like, it wasn't that he invested a ton of money into it. He already owned it. He had put a lot of money into it, but he knew that the that the demographic was there. He knew that they were interested in it, and then he went about doing it. From there on out, yeah, it is a risk because you have to register these. If you're doing it legally, which I highly suggest you do. Don't try to go around it. It sets you up for failure. But if you're doing them legit, you have to register it to begin with, and it's a large investment to put out there and say, hey, I hope this works, But we knew beforehand that the demographic was there and that they were interested in a business model like this. And then from there on out, yeah, we could put our necks out there a little bit.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? If you're going to do something, you're passionate about it, you got to invest in it. And I think that's another call I had yesterday. The guy was asking, how much money should I invest to start a business? Like, what's the least, kind of the lowest amount that I could invest? And I gave him an answer based on different outcomes. But if you're not willing to go all in, it's probably not for you, right? The entrepreneurial world,
it's not going to work out long term for sure.
Yeah, and what you talked about, and I didn't even think about this, and I should have, is from the legal perspective, like that is huge. And that is one area where, and legal stuff's boring, so we'll keep this topic short because nobody likes talking about it. But you can you can lose everything. I mean, I don't think I've told this story before, but at least to like live, we talked about it in the private sessions and stuff. When we first did our Trump coin, we had 6 partners in the company initially with Quantum. We had with Kevin, we had his son Brian, his lawyer Jimmy, and then on our side, my partner Jeremy. We had another partner at the time, and our third partner thought it was a bad idea, the Trump coin. He thought stupid, nobody's going to buy it, right? And he was in charge of like coming up with a design and kind of managing our designer to come up with the coin design, right? Pretty basic task. And in his mind, he was like, well, nobody's going to buy it, right? It's a stupid idea, so just grab whatever image you want, grab a design from Google Images. So did that, 3-4 weeks go by. We had sold about $350,000 worth of this coin. It started to take off. We got a letter, from a law firm. It's basically, this was our client's design. And what people don't understand too is like a lot of those issues, like copyright, there's certain issues where it's not just they're coming after for like, a fine or a penalty. It's like 1.5 revenue. That's what they could get. 1.5 times the revenue, not profit. Revenue. It basically would have put us out of business at that point. And luckily we were able to negotiate our way out of it. And now the person that sued us is now our partner in all of our stuff. That was very, very lucky that we're able to do that. But like you take shortcuts on the legal stuff and your business could be gone, and that's terrifying.
If you really believe in your brand, like I believe in Diesel Power Gear and these brands that I'm with. You don't want to mess with any of the legal stuff. You don't want to deal with any of that. So
no. So, off the legal stuff, which is boring, but you were at an event in New York. We were seeing your stories and all your posts and stuff, at a Snapchat event. And before we were talking, you were saying they were rolling out some cool stuff. They're beta testing some cool stuff. So for people that are, not using Snapchat at all or just like dabbling in, not seeing great results, is there anything from that event or that you're seeing that's kind of promising for those people?
So if you're not using it, at least test it. I mean, I don't know. Like I was very skeptical. I have a 91% male demographic, right? And Snapchat users 70% are female. So I was just like, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. But I was pleasantly surprised to find out that there's still males on Snapchat. And before it was 91% male demographic. Now we've increased our female demographic, and 30% of our purchasers on Snapchat are female, which is great. Is great for us. So there's like, if you haven't tried it, it's very similar to Facebook and Instagram, other than the fact that the pixel takes a little bit to get installed and to get seasoned. It's not like Facebook. You can't optimize for purchases right off the bat. You kind of have to optimize for page views and then add to carts, and then you can do purchases. But I would say if your brand doesn't have at least $1,000 to kind of invest into that pixel and feeding it data, it might not be a great option, but as long as you're willing to understand that you're going to have to throw a little bit of money at it to figure out who your customer is, then from there on out, it's all downhill. Yeah, it's been fun for me. The New York event was the Snap Stars Award. There were 20 of us that were awarded it in the nation. We went out there. I guess they have a penthouse in New York. I thought they were a Cali company, which they are, but I guess their penthouse in New York is right on Times Square. It was awesome. So we went there, got the award, talked to a couple of the VPs, my reps and stuff there, and figured out kind of what's coming up the pipeline. One of the big things that I've been beta testing for them that's been massive is the dynamic product ads. So they're finally getting into the dynamic game.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, you can retarget now dynamically, which is fantastic. And I've seen, like, I'm not joking when I say the scalability is not quite there yet. It's only spending like, I don't know, $300-$400 a day, but my return's like always 10 to 15 return on every dollar I spend. So it's been wild. It's been great there. They just launched a new commercial. So Snapchat they have a snap ad, which is the quick ads that come in between your friends' ads that you're watching, and it pops up in between. Then they have story ads, which is the kind of the clickbaity stuff that's on the discover screen. And then they just launched what I'm talking about now is a commercial ad, which is a non-skippable 6-second with a swipe up. So they can't skip it, they can't forward it, they have to listen to the full 6 seconds, and then it gives you the ability to swipe up at the end. And I think that'll be I just got it active yesterday. I had just getting content to release on a 6-second video, but I should have something released this weekend.
That's huge. So it's kind of, I mean, like YouTube has those, it's kind of like mid-roll video that just, you're watching it, just hitting you with that content.
Yep, same thing.
Got it. From a like creative perspective, I think this is another area that a lot of people struggle with is the creative I need to put out on YouTube versus Facebook, Instagram versus Snap is definitely different. I guess there's some synergies between stories across the platforms, but I mean, if you're putting together content from an ad perspective and you're like, hey, we're building out ads for this quarter, like what is it about a Snap ad that makes it a good ad?
Makes it convert, yeah. So Snapchat, surprisingly, their creative hub's great. It works great. Like if you're a one-man team trying to figure it out, you don't have a videographer. They have some great options in the creative library to make some automation or make videos that you can put up there. And the creative library is great. I personally have a large team. I have a videographer, I have a photographer, I have media buyers, I have a designer, so I can do all of these things. And yeah, Snap content is completely different from the content that you need to be on Instagram. Instagram people, everything's fancy, right? Everything's fancy.
Yeah.
Same, like Facebook's different, but Instagram's all fancy style pictures, what type of filters you have on your stuff, where Snapchat's very raw. And I think people underdo that in the fact that we use influencers for pretty much all of our stuff, because when you're watching Snapchat and you're consuming Snapchat, you're looking to see a raw selfie style video of your friends. Like that's how people consume it. It's not meant to be fancy, you throw on, the girls throw on the filters, whatever, but it's supposed to be pretty raw. So that's the content that we've found works the best for us, is the 9x16 super raw with an influencer in it, literally holding it out above his face with our trucks in the background, wearing our apparel. Those are the things that convert the best, just because it feels the exact same from what they're seeing from their friends into what they're seeing from our ads. Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense. I think that's even, I mean, we're seeing that pretty much across the board as well. Maybe not so much on YouTube, but even like Facebook, I think for a lot of brands.
I use that a lot on Facebook and Instagram too. Don't get me wrong, but even more so on Snapchat, it's just very raw, because you have to be direct and to the point. With Snap videos, with Snap ads, they're only 10 seconds, right? You don't even get the 15 seconds that Instagram gives you. So they have to be direct and to the point, with that first 5 seconds being crucial. Even I would say even less. That first 2 seconds on Snapchat is crucial. But yeah, they like 62% of people listen to Snapchat. They consume the content with the sound on. So on Facebook, every time you've got subtitles and whatnot, because most people are consuming that content with the sound off, mm-hmm. because they're watching it at work or whatever. When people watch Snapchat, the majority of them are actually listening with sound on. So that's something to keep in mind as you're making content for it. It's not quite as important to have the subtitles, and it is important to be talking immediately because they're listening.
Definitely. I actually got, and I think I saw John Belcher was watching a little earlier. He's an absolute rock star and helping the Giddy Up guys scale. We were talking a few months ago, and we were talking about his YouTube ad strategy. And one of the biggest nuggets I took from there, what they're doing is they're segmenting their video ads into chapters essentially, right? So if they have a long form YouTube ad, they have their, their quick little intro, then they have their problem agitation, then they have their solution, then they have UGC. These are pieces in the close, and they're like swapping them out like pieces. And so I think that's really interesting if you're looking at Snap and Instagram and the stories where you have those few seconds. Those can be great to plug into longer form ads. If you're testing, basically, this is a great way to grab attention and get people to pay attention. That's a great place. You can also simultaneously be testing for longer form stuff to get people hooked into the beginning.
What a lot of people actually do on Snapchat is they'll take those Snap ads, those 10-second Snap ads, and they'll produce a bunch of them. And then what they'll do is they'll take their 5 or 6 best performing ones and they'll put them down into the Discover story ads, because story ads can be up to 15 different ones that you're paying for, and your click-through rate's not as great on Snap ads because or Snap Stores, because they can see your brand and they can see what it's about. But once they do actually click on it, your actual conversions is 40% higher on those. Wow. So they're taking those Snap ads and then they're putting those and making them into stories on the Discover.
That's nuts. So quick change, a really abrupt change from because I care about the marketing and business stuff, and I think everyone does, but at least from my perspective, what I care about almost more today than I did a few years ago, just because where I'm at in my life, is the balancing act or the integration. And Billy Jean had an interesting point on this last week when I asked him this question regarding how he handles his kind of personal life and his work life, and he was saying, I don't view it as like splitting the two. I view it as like, how can I combine them in a way that adds, like, that takes the best of both things, right? Right. You have a pretty large tribe, and you and Kim are super active, and you're doing stuff all the time. Now you got a new addition. You got a new little pup there. I mean, how are you either like dividing it or like incorporating everything to manage that work life?
Dude, that's the hardest thing about being an online marketer, right? Because you can do it from anywhere. You can do it from home. You can do it and you can do it all the time. Like, money's coming in at midnight. There's never a time that you're not making money, right? So I came from a sales background to where it was kind of the same in the fact that if I was selling, I was making money, but if I wasn't, then I wasn't. And I came into the online marketing, and that was the hardest transition for me, because when I was selling, I would go to work, and when I'd be at work, I was at work. I was in the marketplace. But when I was at home, I was at home, and I got to spend that time, and my head wasn't at work, it was at home, and I could split those very, very easily. Yeah. As a marketer, I mean, man, it's different. It's hard to split those two things because it's so easily accessible. Your work is on your phone. It's everywhere. So it's a very hard thing, and I'm a little bit different than Billy in the fact that I go into work. I don't have to go into work, but I drive almost 45 minutes into work every day just because I get more work done when I'm away from my home because my kids are pounding down the door. It's just it's very hard. I have 4 kids and a beautiful wife and a puppy. And it's just a lot to have to get in what people would call the flow state or the zone, and then you've got kids interrupting you and whatnot. So it works out better for me to leave, and I come into work and and I'm here 24/7. My wife's fantastic, and she understands unless it's an emergency, don't text or call. And I work hard, and then as soon as 5, 6 hits, I have a team that I've established, that I've put in here, that I've personally trained, that I trust, and I've got rules set and whatnot to where I'm comfortable going home. And when I get home, the first thing that I do is I plug my phone in, and I give that. It's only 2 hours, right? My kids go to bed at 8. I get home usually about 6, and I've got that 2 hours with my kids. That's my gold, right? That there's nothing more important to me than those 2 hours. So I literally plug my phone in, and I'm good. I'm good for those 2 hours, not have my phone, spend the time with my kids. And then once they go to bed, sometimes work will creep in, whatnot with the wife. But those 2 hours are crucial for me. And I'm different than Billy in that way, that I have to separate the work from the kids, or I'm not there. I may be with my kids, but I may be looking at my Shopify, looking at my analytics, checking stuff here or there. But if I can give those 2 hours and plug my phone in and just spend the time with them, see how their day at school was, actually care, it's super important to me.
Well, that's why I love the question. I mean, what I love about asking this question to people, and it's probably the only consistent question that I've asked like anybody that I've chatted with, especially since I started doing this, is that question, because it's different for everybody. And that's what's very interesting is you have very successful people that have families, that have friends, that have pets and stuff, and the way they handle it is completely different, and they can each be happy doing it differently because it works for their lifestyle.
I'm a creature of habit. Like I always have been. Like I have to go to the gym every single day. I wake up at 5 in the morning and I go to the gym because that's my time that I get to spend with myself. And it also clears my head, releases the endorphins. Like it makes my whole day better. If I miss the gym, you'll know because I'll be grumpy. But then I go to work and I spend the time at work, and then those 2 hours with my kids, I spend those time with my kids. And then, the wife and I get an hour or two together. We try to go on dates once a week. We try to take a trip once a month together, just so that you maintain that relationship with your wife, because you lose it when you have that many kids. Your kids take over.
That's what I've heard.
That's really the only thing that's important is your kids. And you forget that, you have a spouse that you need to care for too. So that's the hardest part, is maintaining the relationship with the spouse that you had from before. But for me, it's habit. I have to do the 5 a.m., go to the gym, get ready for work, go to work, come home at 5 and spend those 2-3 hours with my kids. And then after that, it's kind of whatever.
Yeah. For me, it was like, and we don't have kids yet. We're working on the first one, but like, I think it's a cultural thing for, it could be just Americans. It could, it could be bigger than that. Most capitalistic, economies, but like our whole society set up in a way that you're basically like, hey, I'm going to work when I'm young and healthy, I'm going to work as hard as I can. That's all I'm going to do. And then when I'm 65, then I can enjoy life. It's like, I'm just going to bust my ass, be unhappy, be kind of miserable. But the payoff is retire. And now I get, Social Security, and I get, my retirement benefits and all that stuff. And it's like I think a lot of people and entrepreneurs especially have that mindset. Maybe it's not 65, but it's, I'm going to bust my ass for 10 years, sell my company, and then I'm going to go on a vacation forever and just love life. But like that 10 years, like you're not going to get that back. Like I just turned 30 and now I'm thinking, well, my 20s are gone. Like I'm not going to be 20 in my 20s ever again. Like that decade is 100% gone. I have this new decade in front of me. And do you want to look back on it and be, well, I made a lot of money and I worked really, really hard, but I didn't travel enough. I didn't, spend time with the kids enough. I didn't do any of those things enough. When you're young and you can do things, like you can do things when you're 20, 30, 40, you can't do when you're 50, 60, 70. And it's kind of scary that people don't take advantage of that time.
I have ambitious business goals, right? I always have. I have ambitious financial goals. And I'm kind of, I'm dead set on those things. Like I'm not going to that's just who I am. But like if I could, like when I die, and my kids, like, they're not going to say he was wealthy. Like, like the only thing I care that they say is that I was present. Yeah. That's it. Like, as long as I'm there, whether I'm successful, whether I'm not successful, whatever, as long as Dad was there, then I'll be happy.
It's so true, man. Like it's a tough topic for entrepreneurs, especially. I think this is why you see a consistent theme of like very, very rich, wealthy people who just aren't happy, right? Because they traded it. It's when you're young, and like I don't want to make this an attack on certain people or content creators, but like I have a lot of respect for the Cardones and the Vaynerchuks, and I think they're brilliant dudes who are incredibly successful, incredible work ethics, and have helped a lot of people. I do think that the mindset that's taught sometimes, it can be super toxic, because you get these kids out of college.
That's my only hard thing with Gary Vee is like I'll never forget when he said, my kids don't mean anything to me right now. They don't give me any benefit right now, when his kids are like 2 years old. And I'm like, dude, I've never disagreed with anything more, ever. Like those are the time. Those are like the only times you'll never be able to get back. So I agree with a lot of the things that he said. But once again, I think maybe my family values are different than a lot of people. A lot of people didn't grow up with families in their lives, and they're fine having their family be that way. But to me, yeah, money's important. Business is important, but not as important as raising my kids.
Yeah. And the challenging thing, and this is what's really, really difficult with social media, is you see these people almost all day in your feed, right? You're seeing them pop up. You're seeing, lives from them, stories from them and stuff. But like, that's a small snapshot of their actual day, right? Like you might see 25 posts from them today. That might be a good 15 minutes of their day, maybe a long live, maybe an hour of their day, right? You have 23 hours left in the day. You don't know if they're just depressed, if they're miserable, if they're unhappy, if they're yelling at people. You don't see that ever. And so all you see on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, is the best that somebody wants to put out there, the best photo of them. They take one vacation a year and they spread those photos out over an entire year. You're like, wow, that person gets to travel the world every day. It's crazy. And it can be super toxic for a lot of people. And I think for entrepreneurs, like if you're coming out of college and that's what you see is, okay, if I'm not working every minute, every day, I'm a failure. And I can sacrifice all these things because when I'm 30 or 40, then I can enjoy it. And it's like, I don't think it's a coincidence that you see just a lot of very wealthy people who didn't have kids, didn't get married, didn't settle down, and they're out there in their 60s, 70s, and they're like, what do I have, right? Because you can't take money with you. Yeah. Once you're a certain age, you can't really even enjoy it. There's no point anymore. And like humans need purpose. We need purpose in our lives. You don't have purpose, you're just walking through life.
I don't want it to make it sound like, all I do is raise my kids and it's great. I do a lot of work. I travel a lot for work and it's like the biggest regret. But when I get to see my kids, I spend the time with them. And it's not always pretty. Like anybody who has 4 kids will know, like it's hell most of the time. They're up all night or whatever. But it's those times that I really care about, that I cherish, that like I say, will take the way I'm set up, those will take precedent over business, for sure.
Yeah. And I think it has to do with who you are as a person. Like, one of my, like, of the 5 love languages, Larissa and I did that before we got married. And like my top one is like giving gifts, right? So I'm just, that's like one of my big things, like giving people gifts. Right. And so that gives me joy. Is like, if there's nobody around to like give things to, like buy things for and give, then it's like, it's really weird. And then it'd just be a self-destructive streak of me buying stuff for myself, I guess. And I would just, I would have a lot of cars and just sleep in them. Dude, probably.
Look at your desk, man. You bought so many cool things. Well, most of those are awards given to you, but
yeah, I mean, it's buying a lot of useless stuff that I don't need or getting a lot of stuff. Right. But it does make for an entertaining desk. But yeah, I'm glad we got to cover that because it's super important to me, and I know it's really important to you. And I think if more entrepreneurs, if more marketers, if more people that own businesses that can put out content, like talk about it, I think it'll give more balanced perspective to people that are, just getting into it, or they're in it and they think they're doing something wrong. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with, turning off the computer on Saturday and Sunday, or like putting a pause on things. Like your business is not going to vanish overnight. Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be times of the year where you need to hunker down, Q4, Black Friday weekend, you might be working all weekend because that's just the time of year and you need it. But it's not something you need to do every single week, every single weekend, all year round. That's why you got to build teams and systems.
You go crazy.
Definitely. So what I want to do now, because I only got you for an hour. What we do every week here is, we started this like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We cut the feed now. So anybody watching on YouTube or Facebook or anywhere else, we start doing a Q&A. So I'm super fortunate. And one of the things that I'm most grateful for of getting to travel the world and speak is getting to meet other really cool people and build relationships with them who are incredibly smart and gifted. So, in paid traffic training, every Thursday we get to do a Q&A. It's only for members of that community. And it's been a lot of fun since we started it. So if you're watching anywhere outside paid traffic training, if you want to, it's kind of like the overtime that Bill Maher does and Ben Shapiro and a lot of people are doing it now. So we're stealing their idea and it's working out pretty well for us. So if you want to ask questions to Van or our guests coming up in the next few weeks, make sure you sign up for paid traffic training, paidtraffictraining.com. Little plug there. And then we'll make sure we get you some plugs inside our paid group. So I'm going to hit the the pause stream button. We have so many streams going. I want to make sure I don't